What is up, everyone? Corbin here today with the first episode of Tech Talk Tuesday. If you don't know what tech is basically the cards you add to your deck to deal with certain things in the meta. Kind of, they're the answer cards to those cards that are problem cards. That's the simplest way I can put it. And first, before we get into the episode, I'd like to say that these episodes will be going on some type of podcast platform where you can download it and listen to it while you're going to work, along with the podcast that Ryan is starting to do. So please do check that out. Please do give it a follow. It'll be a really good thing for you guys that have to commute, or if you're doing yard work, anything like that, you can plug in your headphones. You can download the podcast or this episode of Tech Talk Tuesday or any future episodes of Tech Talk Tuesday, and you can listen to it and you can get your DBS fix in while you're doing something productive. So, yeah. So, the first card we're going to be talking about today in this episode is Mutaito Skill of a Sage. If you're not familiar with this card, and if you're not familiar with the World Martial Arts Tournament booster cards, you should definitely go check those out. But I will be covering this card because it's very impactful, and what it does is a lot. It answers a lot of problem cards we have, and it's kind of the first card of its kind. It's very strong, so we'll get right into it. So, if you're not familiar with what this card does, it's a counterplay card. So, you play this card, so it's kind of like our Master Roshi, but he has an auto when you play this card. If it is your opponent's turn, you may place this card in its owner's drop area. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than their energy, ignoring barrier, switch it to rest mode, and that battle card can't be switched to active mode until the start of your next turn. So, very, very, very strong effect. Um, some of you may be already realizing what this card can do and how this card will impact the meta. It's a 1 yellow, it's pretty cheap. If this was like a 2 yellow, maybe it would be a little bit worse, but it's 1 yellow, it's very strong. So yeah. So how is this car helpful? Big typo there. Great. We're just gonna go with it. So how is this card helpful? Tap down boss monsters. It's another yellow card, another defensive yellow card. You can splash this if you're playing like blue yellow. Maybe you're playing like the blue yellow Janimba, which I haven't had much experience with, but some people say it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. But you can throw this card in there to deal with height of mastery, stuff like that. So just like another generically good defensive card that's yellow, and yellow has the best defense in the game. So Bandai's just giving us another really strong yellow card. That's just straight up defense. It's a better Crusher Ball, in my opinion, because worst case, sometimes you don't get its effect, like whatever, they minus Killy Zone or something, and Crusher Ball would just be an extra card chilling in your hand. But here we have a 0 for 5k chilling in our hand instead of a extra card, so that is very strong in my opinion. It helps fix, the issues where a lot of splashing yellow just turns into a bunch of extra cards. Ryan and I were talking about it the other night, and I was like, I want to splash yellow, or he told me I should splash yellow in this deck we were working on, and I was like, I don't know what to splash. Like, I don't want to put so many more extra cards in, and he's like, well, we got Mutaito now, so very, very cool. Next is notable boss monsters. So I'd really like to cover the notable boss monsters that we have that this card will help deal with. So the most interesting thing is Height of Mastery Son Goku. Yes, this card has deflect, but an interesting way to get around that is when your opponent activates swap, you can play this card and then you can place it in the drop area, and then you tap in the Height of Mastery Son Goku that's coming in. So you do this before they tap you out, you'll be reacting to their swap instead of actually Height of Mastery being played. That's how it was ruled, I believe. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. But that's what that is, and it's a very, very good, very strong. Helps a lot of decks survive to that. So, you get tapped down, they have their height of mastery, but instead of, them just getting two attacks in on you, you can tap it down and then they can't untap it. So it's very strong. Next is Gogeta Hero Revived. Same difference. They have the Union Fusion. You can react to that, and you know you tap it down when it comes in. So before they reset your hand, you can play Mutaito. They play Gogeta Hero Revived. You tap it down. Since it has barrier, and you won't get completely blown out that turn, which is amazing. And then if you draw some sort of answer to Gogeta, there you go. Then you dealt with their Gogeta. And I mean, you have a very small hand size, but at least you're not just instantly losing the game on that turn now. So, and Mutaito's like one less card that you'll see in your deck, which is pretty good. Sometimes, getting rid of cards that you don't want to see post hand reset, like Chain Attack Zeno, Gogeta, that's something that most players don't think of. You kind of want to get rid of the dead cards in the matchup so you won't redraw them and you don't get absolutely tilted when you say you lose to RNG. There's still some things you can do to play around that, but yeah. Next is Son Goku, the Awakened Power. So they play this guy, just like, hey, I'm Mutaito, tap that down, see ya, dude. No victory strike for you today. Um, yeah, so that's just probably like a really generic thing. And then Beyond Darkness, Demigra, another really generic card. Um, you're gonna tap it down before they can start ripping cards out of your hand, and then if you draw an answer for it, it's really good. If not, you're gonna have to deal with the next turn. I'm sorry. But yeah, these are just a few of the notable cards that you can interact with Mutato, and they're definitely cards that you need to look out for in the meta. I believe moving forward with the whole Super Shenron being gone thing, that Gogeta Shenron could make a comeback. Item Mastery is still very strong. We've seen that in the small regional, or not small regional, but a small tournament with very notable players down south in Florida, I believe it was, where Broly had a mastery was very strong. Victory Strike is always going to be a problem card, so not necessarily a problem card, but it's a very strong card, and this is just another way to deal with that. And then Beyond Darkness Demigra is just also a very strong card and is in Skillless Goku, so these are just really cards you have to look out for. And in the future, if these cards, move out of the meta shifts or whatever, you can start looking at, the big boss monsters that you're going to want to be tapping down. So Mutato will always have a place in the meta, I feel. So negatives about Mutato. I honestly hope I'm saying this name right, but we'll get through it. So minus Killy Zone. Basically, if you don't know what this card does, it says you can't play counterplay cards when I'm playing my big dudes. It doesn't have to be your big dudes, but the turn you play minus Killy Zone, they can't play uh, counterplay cards. So minus Killy Zone is a free card, and you have to warp 3 cards from your drop area. So you put 3 cards from your drop area into your warp, and then you get to play it for free, and then you draw a card. So it kind of cycles itself, but you're limiting your drop area for things like Overrealm and just general interaction with your drop area. Sometimes this can be awkward for decks because, maybe they don't have X amount of cards in the drop area. So that's something to be thinking about. Mutato will demand is another card that will demand a answers such as minus Killy Zone, and if decks don't have a way to get stuff in their drop area or they have to inefficiently combo their hand to get cards in the drop area, it's still great for you, but also it's just a 0 for 5 that sits in your hand. You don't get the other effect, and if they play the boss monster, you might die. Honestly, that's the simplest way to put it. Um, Another thing that I do like and I don't like is cost greater than their energy. So say it's turn 7 and they're playing Gogeta Hero Revived, this card doesn't affect it. This is more so dealing with cards that are coming out earlier than they normally should be. I'm like quoting that right now. You can't see it, but I'm quoting that. Um, Sometimes there's interactions in this game that I don't think Bandai really thought about, and they're like, "Oh, we kind of have to fix this." So this is kind of like the silver bullet to help fix it. But I feel like this card isn't really a silver bullet, but it's more of just a generally generic good defensive card, and we need those. And deflect, deflect's still not affected by it, so that's really it for negatives. And probably the price. The World Martial Art Tournament boosters are still 3 cards a pack, and there's 20 cards in the entire booster set. So it might be a small issue to get a hold of, Mutato and some of the other generically good World Martial Art Tournament cards. So that's something you should be aware of. If you can get them for cheap, I would definitely pick this card up. This card's very strong, and I think will always be good in general, since it's kind of like a better Master Roshi in a sense, in my opinion. It's a better Crusher Ball, so you might as well, if you're ever thinking about playing either one of those cards, you might as well just play this card. So yeah. That's all I have for today. Try to keep it relatively short, not wanting to, drag it on too long. Want to get as much information across as possible in a short amount of time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to start checking out the podcast we're going to be pumping out. It's going to be weekly, I believe, and I don't know if the first one has gone up at the time of this video, but if it hasn't, be sure to look out for it. If it has, please go check it out. And make sure you stay tuned for the upload of this series and the podcast on the podcast platform. I don't really know what to call it. I'm not sure what platform we're going to be using yet, but we will update you guys on that, and it will be fantastic. I'm actually really excited for it. I wish more content creators do it. I know one, No Counters, No Combos does, but yeah, that's it from me today. I'm not going to ramble on. Have a great day. Peace.